Peace be to this house. Peace be within these walls. Peace be to this house. Peace be within these walls. The God of peace be your shelter and your shield. The Prince of Peace rule in your heart. The God of comfort be to you a stronghold. Peace be to this house. Peace be to this house. Peace be within these walls. Peace be to this house. Peace be within these walls. Be anxious for nothing, but casting all your care on Him. Know within your heart He cares for you. Peace be to this house. Peace be to this house. Peace be within these walls. Peace be to this house. Peace be within.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Moore. I'm the Community Minister at Regent Park Community Ministry. Welcome to Regent Park in downtown Toronto on a chilly January morning. The first people started settling in this area in the 1840s. They were mostly Irish immigrants that started to settle in this part of Toronto, and the area became known as Cabbagetown, primarily, exclusively because people were planting cabbages around where they lived, and so it became known as Cabbagetown. It developed over the years, and as time went on, became a very impoverished community and had many of the challenges associated with poverty along with it. In the early 1940s, the City of Toronto decided that they were going to tear down Cabbagetown South, and rebuild it and rename this community Regent Park, after Regent's Park in London. Cabbagetown still exists just to the north of here, and it is now what is left of Cabbagetown, and it is now a very wealthy neighborhood, as a matter of fact. In 1948, the tear down and rebuild began. And these brownstone buildings that you see were a brand new social housing community. It was Canada's first social housing project. People came from all over the world to see this wonderful new community called Regent Park, built in a park-like setting, which meant there were hardly any through streets, there was no commerce, there was no recreation, it was simply housing units, and that quickly became a problem. Jane Jacobs and others have told us how difficult it is when we build social housing communities and we don't blend them at all, and that certainly was the case in Regent Park. And all of the problems associated with poverty and with living in a community that only was able to look inward began to arise. In 2003, after many years of discussion by the residents of Regent Park and many of the service providers, Toronto City Council approved a new plan. And in this plan, Regent Park would now become a blended community. It would be a mixture of new housing, market rates, it would be social housing, affordable housing, it would be amenities, it would be recreational facilities, and it would be commerce, and it would have streets that went all the way through so that people would come to Regent Park. And in 2006, this project began. They started to tear down the old Regent Park yet again and build the new Regent Park. And what you're looking at behind me is some of what the new Regent Park actually looks like. We are in our third phase of the redevelopment, and there are 2 more phases to go. And all in all, this project will take about 20 years. The United Church of Canada began in 1925. It was a union of the Congregational, the Methodist, and the Presbyterian churches in Canada. This is 40 Oak Street. It is the site of the Regent Park United Church, which was established in 1954 from the old Oak Street United Church, which was torn down in 1953 as part of the rebuild of Regent Park. The Christian Resource Center, which is this building, was established over 50 years ago in the Regent Park United Church. It is now the Fred Victor CRC, as the Fred Victor Mission and the Christian Resource Center have amalgamated. And this building was constructed in 2012 on the site of the old Regent Park United Church, one of the first new buildings built in the Regent Park community. This is a remarkable place. It does housing, as you can see above me. It does meals. It does food security. We have gardens here in the front. It has drop-in services and advocacy. As the CRC began to increase in its programming and its influence, the old Regent Park United Church got smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually, just a few years ago, ceased to exist. I came here in 2013, and we formed Regent Park Community Ministry, a ministry of the United Church of Canada. And it was established so that the spiritual presence of the United Church of Canada would not be lost in this community. This is a wonderful and remarkable space. The Peace Garden is just over here, which is in memory of youth who have lost their lives in Regent Park. You see the gardens to the other side of me. Food security is such an important thing. And I've been working out of this facility for over 8 years now. And I want to invite you to come inside with me now as we spend a little bit of time inside, and I get a chance to warm up. And so I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of the history of Regent Park. And we'll go inside to talk a little bit more about the work of Regent Park Community Ministry. One of the really lovely and unique features of this CRC facility is the incorporation of some stained glass windows that have come out of other congregations, and a couple of them have even come out of the old Regent Park United Church. They just really give a sense that this is truly a sacred space. And these windows actually are at the entranceway to the chapel. This is a community ministry. We are not considered a Christian congregation in any traditional sense, even though we are a community of faith in the United Church of Canada. We do traditional Christian church types of things. We hold a worship service in this beautiful worship space every week, but it's also used by people of other faiths. We sometimes hold our worship services here. Sometimes we hold them on the front lawn. Every Wednesday evening, we have a community conversation group that meets in this space, and it is made up of Christian people and people of other faiths and people that don't have any particular faith. We also have met in here very often for Stronger Together interfaith events and to have anti-Islamophobia dialogues and other type of community and interfaith events. We have met, as I say, outside. We've met in coffee shops. We've met in pubs. We try and go to where people are and try to serve our community in ways that are meaningful for the people who now call Regent Park home.
My name is Leonard Swartz, and I'm a proud member of the Regent Park Community Ministry. I myself live in Regent Park, and I moved into Regent Park about 10 years ago. I decided to move into this socially progressive neighborhood because of the diversity. There are people from, I don't know how many different countries. There's a lot of vitality, a lot of potential, a lot of enthusiasm to create a great community and be a vital part of the city of Toronto. I myself am a retired engineer. I worked for 30 odd years in the aerospace industry, I'm a proud active member of the Regent Park Community Ministry, not so much for the spiritual aspects. In fact, for that, I attend a synagogue, but I participate in the activities of the ministry here for the community involvement in activities, things such as vigils, special events, interfaith events, and a weekly check-in call. We do it by Zoom now, called Community Conversations.
Hi, my name's Kate Seller. I overheard a kindergarten teacher say the other day that where we live is important because it's part of who we are. For me and my family, Regent Park is a part of who we are. 10 years ago, my husband and I were looking to buy a house in Toronto. I was working as a human rights lawyer. My husband was a lawyer working for an advocacy organization for psychiatric patients. We had read a bit about Regent Park, a neighborhood downtown was about to become a mixed income community. My husband and I really liked this idea. The unit we bought was right above the Tim Hortons, and the second bathroom sometimes smelled like coffee. Regent Park is the kind of place where it takes 45 minutes for me to go to the store and pick up milk, because I run into 3 or 4 people I know and we get chatting. Regent Park is also the kind of place where people look out for each other and for each other's children. Across the street from my home in Regent Park is the CRC, the Christian Resource Center. I think that if every church did what happened across the street from me, I'm pretty confident the world would be a different place.
My name is Nick White, and I have been active in the United Church. I currently attend Kimbourne Park United, which is in east part of downtown Toronto. So I've always been interested in looking at alternative worship and ways of serving a community, especially that made up of vulnerable people. The Regent Park community, and I'll have to admit I've never lived there. The Regent Park community has people of different backgrounds. I've been very pleased with some of the interfaith discussions that we've had, especially between Christians and Muslims. We also have meetings usually on Wednesday evenings, and the topics can go all over the map, but they certainly deal with interfaith issues because of the loss of several churches in the area, and it was a follow-up to try and do something different.
Yes, my name is Suraya. Been working in Regent Park for the last 10 years, living in Regent Park for the last 23 years now. In January, my daughter was 1. She just turned to 24. I work in Regent Park, non-profit organization. The name of the organization is the Center for Community Learning and Development. We do a lot of capacity buildings, community engagement. Honest, when the CRC was open, a lot of community members and if having a community meeting or whatever, what are you doing? They were giving me a look of, what are you doing? And that's the Christian space. What are you doing? They thought that the perception that they have, that is doing a church thing and doing a Bible, and that's all. But throughout a year, and that perception changed by us working together. That was Kevin, and like doing a lot of advocacy and doing a lot of social justice stuff, and doing that common stuff that to help the human being. What I'm trying to say is relationship change people perception.
My name is Beverly Bowen, and I'm just into my 80th year, and I'm still totally healthy. My doctor says I'm the healthiest person he knows at my age that takes no medication at all. I've lived in Regent Park for almost 2 years now. When I was working, I was an educator, and after I retired, I went to China to teach for 3 years. Well, it's been a really rocky road for me spiritually and with God from the beginning. I can remember when I was maybe in my 20s, late 20s, God trying to talk to me, and I can so clearly remember saying, "Not now, I'm not ready, go away." But he never gave up on me, and that was one thing that amazed me my whole life, that he just never gave up. And it really wasn't until after I retired that I started to pay attention to his voice and his urgings, and probably the Holy Spirit was nudging me in directions and whatnot. And at one point when I was walking with my dog and I was musing about God and his presence with me, I said to him, I said, I have had such a wonderful life and really no hardships whatsoever. Is that because you don't think I'm strong enough to handle them? And it wasn't long after that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I thought, this is God telling me to pay more attention and to appreciate the things that he is doing for me and with me. And then the next thing was I went to China to teach for 3 years, and the people that I met there were such strong Christians. And they had an international church over there and it was only for expats. The Chinese couldn't attend. But it was jammed. If they had 2 services on Sunday, and there was like 2,500 people in each service. In fact, I was baptized while I was over there in China in a shark tank because the Chinese wouldn't allow the baptisms to take place in the church. And so somebody who owned an aquarium and who was a Christian said that we could use the aquarium if we wished. So my baptism took place in a shark tank with the sharks, but there was little ones. It was just little baby ones, and they all swam away from us when we came in. So that by the time I came home after the 3 years, I was ready to start on a more serious journey. I just love living in Regent Park, and I know for a fact that God brought me here.
Community is important because it challenges how I think about and see the world. And it's important not to hang out with the echo chamber, only the people you went to school with, or only the people that work in your field, or only the people that are related to you, or part of your faith group, or the same age as you. There's a difference between watching a TED Talk that you choose and watching one that someone else chose and hearing what other people have to say about it. I also just believe that communities are stronger together. When my dad had a health scare last year, my friends from Community Conversations were praying for him, which I found really touching, even though I'm not a prayer myself. In Regent Park, we spend time lobbying governments for the things that we need. But we also just spend time hanging out, DJs and pumpkin carving and movies in the park, walking dogs, playing with kids in the playground, or playing soccer. But some of the neighbors that I've come to know through Community Conversations, I really value their friendships, and it makes some of the work that we do in the community easier. I think it is easy for powerful institutions to capitalize on the divisions that exist in a neighborhood. Change requires people living in poverty too often to be more organized than everyone else, do more work together, build more coalitions. And so community conversations is a small way of building those connections so that we're harder to divide as a community. Organized religion will never take me alive, but like Kevin, I do like community meetings.
Community is where you live and where diverse people lives. Doesn't matter what ethnic you are, what religion you are. Community is home. We share our sorrow, the griefs, and the good thing, the bad thing. They're Christian and Muslim, they have a right over you, they said. The Prophet says, alayhi salam. So the community is who lives on your right, on your left, 40 house. That's how they describe it. Regent Park, we are very tight communities, but we forgot the core role that we need to make sure nobody goes hungry. We make sure that everybody is even taken care of. That's the community supposed to be doing, taking care of each other.
Community to me means seeing past the barriers that sometimes keep us apart. It means looking into someone's eyes and recognizing that they are a fellow human being. It means not paying attention to all the distractions of different religion, different ethnic background, different culture, different language, and connecting with people and recognizing that we have similar needs and values. And it's just connecting. There's something really wonderful about walking outside the front door of my nondescript apartment building and seeing people whom I've met in meetings or through the ministry, through a number of the volunteer activities in which I'm involved, and saying hi, being recognized and recognizing others and greeting one another. It really adds to the quality of my life. And it's helpful too. It's safer. I feel like I belong, like I'm part of the community. And yeah, it gives me a great feeling.
I've seen the programs develop, but also interfaith events I found were important. As for me, I never had the view that Christianity was the only approach, but I did have a thought that, yeah, this someone who belongs to another faith and hasn't had contact with Christians, if they led a good life, then God would give them credit through Jesus. But I gradually moved away from that to seeing each faith and each quote division within various faiths to be equivalent to each other, that God can be just as easily approached through Islam as through Christianity. Really, no more, no less. So yeah, I think over the years, I've become more inclusive in my thinking. But I think meeting people, actually getting to know them, actually having dialogue with them in front of you instead of from a book or a computer screen was more helpful in making me more inclusive. That everybody's spirituality is important and valuable, and I see that as a gift from God.
As well, we used to have a dialogue, healing kind of circle. We afternoon dialogues that we get together and asking what is about faith, what is our faith said about parenting. So we discuss and bring a quotes from the Quran and Hadith. We discuss about all of that piece that could unite us, or the core value of how do you parenting. If we practice really, and we could do so much instead of looking at that what divide us. There is a lot of challenge in society right now, and if we get together and help and support what is unite us and the common cause of to build human beings, and I think we wouldn't be on the mess that right now, that what we're seeing everywhere, actually human suffering, I would say. And I remember a few years ago, we had anti-Islamophobia dialogues. There was people who showed up to make a distraction. It was, I will tell you, it was very terrifying experience. But the discussion then, when we had, and we break down, and the person who were creating chaos came to our table, but Kevin stick on his ground and have conversation with that person without making them uncomfortable, but he was answering every question that they have. He's really truly ally to stand with us and to speak and defend the community in that aspect. Interfaith, really, this is what it means. The only way that we change or could having a dialogue or having that relationship, and you have a perception about me and not knowing my families, not knowing where I come from, my experience, all of that, and getting on the TV, and that damage people perception, how they project to other people. And it's especially right now, and it's so important to have that hard conversation, to have, let's not dismiss it, and let's talk about it in respectful ways, and understand where those come from, like why people hate each other, like why.
You know, it's easy sometimes to live in a bubble of one kind of another, whether it's COVID-19 or whatever. But, you know, there have been some challenges, to be honest. I'm very proud of my Jewish faith and my Jewish culture. But by being exposed to interfaith activities, learning about other people's faiths, sharing sacred spaces with them, it has actually strengthened my own faith and made me more curious about some of our rituals, and it's enhanced my own Jewish spiritual journey.
Thanks for spending some time with us here at Regent Park Community Ministry. I want to share with you, just in conclusion, the words of the United Church New Creed, which I think are very appropriate for our time together this evening. A new creed. We are not alone. We live in God's world. We believe in God, who has created and is creating, who has come in Jesus, the Word made flesh, to reconcile and make new, who works in us and others by the Spirit. We trust in God. We are called to be the church, to celebrate God's presence, to live with respect in creation, to love and serve others, to seek justice and resist evil, to proclaim Jesus crucified and risen, our judge and our hope. In life, in death, in life beyond death, God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God.
I just want to say thank you in bottom of my heart. May God put barakah on it, which means it will expand and doing a lot of bounty and a lot of blessing that will put on the good stuff that you are doing.
And thanks for participating. Blessings upon you, and I do look to maybe meet some of you in person if the pandemic ever ends.
Oh, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate the time that you spent, and I hope that you have all the blessings in the world pour into your life.
Shalom, salam alaikum, namaste, be safe and stay sane. Bye.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the self animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. My name is Rochelle, and I'm so honored to be part of this online event. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that poem. There's the best of luck and more years to come, more conversations to come. Thank you again, and have a good night.
Make me a channel of your peace, hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in